July 2, 1937. The most famous woman pilot on Earth vanished. No distress call. No wreckage. No confirmed goodbye. Nearly 90 years later, the mystery still refuses to die. But here's the question almost nobody asks. What if Amelia Earhart didn't simply disappear, but the world stopped looking in the right place? For decades, you've probably heard the same story. She ran out of fuel. Her plane crashed into the Pacific. Case closed. But hidden inside government records, forgotten radio messages, and decades of investigations is a far more complicated story. Some of it is fact, some of it is speculation, and some of it raises questions historians still can't answer.
So what really happened during Amelia Earhart's final flight? Stay with me, because the closer we get to the truth,
the stranger this story becomes. Before she became history's greatest aviation mystery, Amelia Earhart was already making history. In an era when many believed women didn't belong in the cockpit, she proved them wrong again and again. She became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She broke records, inspired millions, and became a global symbol of courage. By 1937, she wasn't just chasing another headline. She wanted to achieve something no pilot had ever completed before, a flight around the world near the equator. It would stretch more than 29,000 miles. An extraordinary challenge using the technology of the 1930s. But here's the question, was this ambitious journey doomed before it even began? After weeks of successful flying across South America, Africa, Asia, and Australia, only one major obstacle remained, a tiny speck of land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Howland Island, just over a mile long, easy to miss, impossible to replace. If Amelia and her navigator, Fred Noonan, couldn't find it, there was nowhere else to land.
On the morning of July 2, 1937, they took off from Lae, New Guinea. But within hours, something started going terribly wrong.
And the final radio messages they transmitted would become one of history's greatest puzzles.
Thousands of miles from civilization, Amelia Earhart's voice crackled over the radio. Calm, professional, but noticeably more urgent.
This is Echo 1. Situation is nominal.
Wait, we have a breach at Sector 4. Need support now.
Her team aboard the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, waiting near Howland Island, could hear her. The problem? She couldn't hear them. Communication was breaking down. Every passing minute meant less fuel and fewer options.
Then came one of the most famous transmission in aviation history. We must be on you, but cannot see you.
Fuel is running low. Think about that for a second. If they were that close to Howland Island, how could they miss it completely? The crew aboard Itasca fired smoke signals. They broadcast radio bearings. They did everything they could to guide Amelia in. But nothing worked. Then another message arrived, one that investigators would analyze for decades. We are on the line 157, 337. It was brief, mysterious. And to this day, experts continue debating exactly what Amelia intended to do next. Did she turn southeast? Did she head northwest? Or was she already too low on fuel to make any choice at all? Could one sentence hold the key to the entire mystery, then? Nothing. The radio fell silent. No confirmed distress call. No explosion. No eyewitnesses. Just silence stretching across millions of square miles of ocean. Within hours, the United States launched one of the largest and most expensive search operations in history. Ships, aircraft, thousands of personnel. They searched day after day, but they found nothing. No airplane. No life raft. No confirmed trace of Amelia Earhart or her navigator, Fred Noonan. How does an entire aircraft simply vanish? For decades, the official explanation seemed straightforward.
she ran out of fuel before finding Howland Island. Her plane crashed into the Pacific.
It's known as the crash and sink theory. It remains the explanation accepted by many aviation historians because it fits the available evidence. But here's where the mystery takes a dramatic turn. What if the search was focused on the wrong location from the very beginning? Because years later, new clues would emerge that challenged everything people thought they knew. the official search ended. The world assumed the mystery was over. But then, something unexpected happened. In the days following Amelia Earhart's disappearance, radio operators, and even ordinary people across the Pacific, reported hearing messages they believed came from her aircraft. Some claimed they heard a woman's voice asking for help. Others reported hearing Amelia identify herself. These reports were real, and many were documented. But here's the critical distinction. No post-loss radio transmission has ever been conclusively verified as authentic. Still, the reports raised an unsettling question. If the airplane had already sunk into the ocean, who was transmitting those messages? Years later, researchers turned their attention to a remote island now known as Nikomaroro. It's hundreds of miles from Howland Island, but it lies close to the navigation line Amelia mentioned in her final transmission. Could she have landed there instead of crashing into the sea? Over the decades, expeditions discovered intriguing clues. Pieces of aluminum,
These
old tools,
scattered across the
artifacts from the 1930s, and perhaps most controversial of all, human bones were reportedly found there in 1940. The original examination concluded they belonged to a man. But decades later, some researchers argued the measurements could be more consistent with a woman of Amelia Earhart's build. The problem, the bones were lost long ago, which means modern DNA testing is impossible. Without the original evidence, can anyone ever prove what those bones really were? This is where it's important to separate history from speculation. Fact, no confirmed wreckage of Amelia Earhart's aircraft has ever been identified. Fact, no verified physical evidence has proven she landed on Nikomaroro. Theory, supporters believe she survived a forced landing on the island before eventually dying there. It's a compelling idea, but without conclusive evidence, it remains exactly that, a theory. So if neither the ocean, nor the island, has delivered a final answer, are we still missing the most important piece of the puzzle? For nearly 90 years, countless expeditions have searched beneath the Pacific. Researchers have analyzed photographs, radio logs, navigation charts, and forgotten archives. Yet the greatest aviation mystery in history remains unsolved. But what if the answer has been hiding, not in a conspiracy, but in one tiny detail almost everyone overlooked? That's where this story reaches its most fascinating conclusion. After decades of investigations, one conclusion stands above all the others. Most aviation historians believe Amelia Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, simply ran out of fuel while searching for Howland Island. With no land in sight, and no way to receive accurate radio guidance, their Lockheed Electra most likely disappeared into the vast Pacific Ocean. It is the simplest explanation, and based on the evidence we have today, it is also the one most experts consider the most likely. But most likely isn't the same as proven, because without the airplane, without definitive physical evidence, and without a confirmed final resting place, the mystery remains officially unsolved. So why has no one found the aircraft after all these years? The Pacific isn't just enormous. It's almost impossible to comprehend. The search area covers hundreds of thousands of square miles. Some parts of the ocean floor plunge deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Strong currents, extreme pressure, and nearly a century of time make the search unimaginably difficult. History has shown that even modern aircraft have taken years, or even decades, to locate. So perhaps the greatest mystery isn't that Amelia disappeared. It's that we still expect the ocean to give back every secret it takes. People often remember Amelia Earhart for the way her story ended, but maybe that's the wrong way to remember her. Before she became the world's greatest unsolved aviation mystery, she changed aviation forever. She challenged expectations, inspired generations of pilots, and proved that courage isn't measured by certainty. It's measured by the willingness to go where no one else has gone. Maybe that's why the world still searches for her, not because of how she disappeared, but because of everything she accomplished before that final flight. And perhaps that's the real story history never stopped telling, somewhere beneath the Pacific, or perhaps somewhere we've never thought to look. The final chapter of Amelia Earhart's journey may still exist, waiting, silent, unchanged, until the day someone finds the evidence that history couldn't. So here's a question for you. If you had to choose one explanation based on the evidence, not the myths, which theory do you believe comes closer? Tell us why in the comments. Because every great mystery begins with a question. And sometimes, the next discovery starts with someone who refuses to stop asking them. Until the next mystery, keep looking beyond the headlines.